Alright guys, good evening. We'll get started here in just a few minutes for this late night hangout here on the Total OS Today Technology channel. Hope all of you are doing well. It's a muggy evening here where I live, rainy. So we'll get started here in just a few minutes and we'll just have a miscellaneous topic hangout. Talk about Linux and computer systems and stuff like that. So if you're in the chat and would like to say something or just to say hello, please do. All right, so I have a goal here set up for and this was unannounced. I should have scheduled it, but I wasn't sure what I would be doing this evening. It's for feedingamerica.org. A goal here. There's been about, I forget how many hundreds of millions of dollars in spending cuts to help fund Feeding America, which helps needy families. That's been cut by the current administrations. I'm not sure what that's got to do with politics, but it is what it is. So whether we hit this goal or not, I'm going to donate anyway. But if you guys want to chip in for Feeding America, please do. And we'll try to help out some families in need for these crazy times and a sad day here in the States. But not all, well, sadly, all predictable. Yeah, so I'll just leave it at that. Cody is in the house. How are you, my friend? What's new with you? All right, so what can we talk about for this evening? Well, you guys may have heard about the I don't know what else to describe it, but a mess between Ex Libre developers and Wayland developers and the excommunicado of the developer for Ex Libre. These are strange times. Open source banning open source. I've never seen anything like this, to be quite honest. As a Windows user, I have to be honest, it's sad, but I find this amusing. Because it's almost like, guys, if you want to avoid all the drama, just stick with Windows, man. There's none of this. I hate to see this, I really do. Because, you know, freedom of choice is all about, well, freedom of choice. And if you don't want to use something or want to use something, then it should be your choice. No one should be banned for trying to fork X11 into something better. Clearly, Wayland is not ready for many of you, and who knows if it will be. It's been almost 20 years now. So, look, I'm not an expert on this. I only go by what I see and what I test. And it's a shame it's come to this, but who knows, maybe something good will come out of this. So, for now, for my daily driver, I'm using X11 still because it works. Cody, I'm doing well. I'm fully recovered from surgery, it appears, and hope I stay that way. And yeah, hot and humid here too. Ex Libre, the new display manager. Well, it's a fork of X11, since many people are still having problems with Wayland. So somebody's trying to do something about it, but the developer, I guess, was banned. From what I understand, like I'm not into the politics of anything in general, especially computer stuff. I think it's just stupid, but hey, that's me talking. You see what I'm saying? Honestly, that's why you've been playing with Windows, getting tired of Linux people. Well, hopefully not on this channel, right? Yeah. I understand, but yeah, for some people, Wayland works, and if it works, great. But if somebody wants to take X11 and make it better, why is that person being chastised for it? I don't get it. But it's human nature, Cody. It's human nature. Human beings are inherently stupid. It's been proven since the dawn of time, which is why God gave us the 10 Commandments, because humans are inherently stupid. Including myself, by the way. I'm not, you know. Anyway. There's some Linux you can handle. Okay. Talking about the fanboys, yeah. I understand. I understand. I get it. Yeah, I don't know where this is gonna go with Ex Libra. I guess it's just a guy of one right now trying to do something positive. So this will probably go nowhere. I don't know. But it looks like at least both X11 and Wayland are here to stay. If I had to guess for a while, again, it's been almost 20 years since Wayland was first announced. That's a long time, even for Linux. But it is what it is. I did come across a website for Ex Libra X server talking about all this and what's going on. But again, this is just a team of one. And that's a little rough, to say the least. I came across another blog that says, think twice before abandoning Xorg. Wayland breaks everything. I wouldn't say it breaks everything, but the fact that we even have this type of a blog, to me, still, you know, there's still, it's just not ready. Maybe give it another 20 years. Hey, I'm just a Windows dual booter, man. What do I know? But it is what it is, right? Yeah. In the meantime, my daily driver is Linux Mint. I do Ubuntu for testing, and I am running Ubuntu tonight. It does look great on a 50-inch TV. I'll give Ubuntu credit for that. It looks great. So Ubuntu with the proper terminal tweaks is perfectly fine for me. Can't recommend it for Windows users. But I think for Windows user, I think the two choices right now, because X11 support is going to be dropped from the GNOME desktop. I think the choices right now, the two prime choices for Windows users are going to be a Chromebook and Linux Mint. I would recommend Zorn, but they focused on the GNOME desktop, and with the problems with Wayland, they just, yeah, I don't know. But stick with your Linux Mint and a Chromebook, no problem there. Yeah, Windows 11 is fine, and you are right, Cody. Chromebook, you can never go wrong because you never have to use the terminal. There's nothing to fix because there's nothing to break. It just works. You know, I came across something on YouTube. I think it was PC World. There was a guy on a micro in a Micro Center store out west. Here, the closest Micro Center for me is 3 hours away, so I ain't going there. But he asked the people waiting in line who uses Linux. I think out of 100 people, I think 2 replied. I'm like, I bet if you asked him who uses a Chromebook, I think it would have been probably would have been more than 2. And then the people would have been stunned. You mean a Chromebook is a form of Linux? Well, yeah. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting video. Godfather Joey's in the house. How are you? Oh, you saw the video, Cody? Okay. Yeah, Joe. Yes, it was a PC World video. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. It didn't give Linux a good name, but I bet if the guy would have said who has a Chromebook or knows someone who has a Chromebook, it would have changed everything. Just as a guess. Again, if you are a Windows user and are confused, stick with Linux Mint or a Chromebook. No drama with Wayland versus X11 or any video Xorg issues. That's the way to go right now. I still find it... I mentioned this before, but the local Walmart here, and this is a Dean Martin hick town. I still find it somewhat amusing that the local Walmart has 8 different Chromebooks for sale. This is not a tech town by any stretch of the imagination, but when I saw that, I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. That's the power of Linux. Ah. I was at my neighbor's house. I was watching the new season of Fubar with Arnold. Ah. He is so fun to watch. But tonight with this live stream, I am using Wayland for Ubuntu. It seems okay, at least for this purpose. Man, it is muggy tonight. I'm going to have to turn the AC on. Oof. Raining, and it just adds to the mugginess like when I lived in Florida. But it is summer. I wish it wouldn't rain so we can get the freaking pool open, but maybe I'll see the pool in August. If we can get a little bit of a drought going, that would be perfect. So Joe, what's new? Steve joined in the heart here in the heart here in the chat. No, the special goodies you have on your OBS, I don't have that, man. So your I fart exclamation point fart is not going to work here. Yeah. Nice try though. There have been a lot of content creators talking about going to Linux, or at least trying to. Oh, I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's awesome. Yeah. Oh, Joe, you have a new granddaughter. Very nice. Very nice. It works, Steve? Okay. All right. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I think anybody who hasn't tried Linux before, they should, but I think it all comes down to which Linux. The hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different choices out there. So I think when we see, you know, videos here on YouTube that Linux is the best or Linux is better, I don't think they're being specific enough, Joe. Which Linux might be better? Which Linux should you try? And you and I know there's really only a handful, you know, especially now with the Wayland X Libre controversy. It's not helping out, but yeah, if anybody hasn't tried Linux, what do you got to lose? You know? Especially people who don't need Windows. Yeah, why not? Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I wonder how many other Walmarts have 8 different Chromebooks to choose from besides here, and in which states. I've tried mint cinnamon before, and it's fine. Yeah, I still prefer the mate desktop, myself. But mint cinnamon is fine. Zorn is still good, but now with this controversy with Wayland versus Zorg, I think Zorn now exclusively uses the GNOME desktop. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, Joe. I still like Zorn, but yeah, I don't know. I guess time will tell. Oh, hang on, I got a message here coming in. Alright, sorry about that. I was replying to a personal message I needed to take. I'm okay. Sorry. Let's see. It's just your everyday garden variety Linux controversy when it comes to XLM versus Wayland. I have some specific use cases for me, but all in all, one would never tell the difference. Yeah, it's I don't know. My thinking about all this is Wayland is ready when all the software will be ready. You know. And when NVIDIA is ready. I guess NVIDIA is still a big problem from what I understand. Anyway, that's what people are telling me. So, and, you know, it shouldn't take 20 years to get something ready. But that's just me. You know, this Wayland project started in 2008, so do the math. I don't know. Maybe that's just the nature of Linux to start with, you know. I don't use Linux exclusively, so even though I'm experienced, I'm by no means an expert on it. And I have no intention to be. I enjoy using it. You know, I list the pros and cons, and for all these years, this is what I've been telling Windows users about the, you know, about what Linux is all about, what works and what doesn't work, you know, from a Windows user. And I think I've helped some users. I don't have exact numbers, but yeah, software issues fall on the software dev. Steve says that's true, but a Windows newbie's not going to give a hoot about that. They're going to say, does this work? Does what I use work on it? If it doesn't, they're going to say Linux sucks. Of course, that's not true. Some Linux sucks. We can even say most Linux sucks. I read somewhere there's almost 100, or not 100, but 1,000 different forks. That's a lot. So we could probably eliminate 95% of them plus that are not for Windows users. But to say all of Linux sucks is wrong. To say all of Linux is better than Windows doesn't make sense either. Anyway, that's for my take. Yeah, it's taken over 20 years for Linux itself to be usable, daily usable. Yeah, because I started with Linux 2006. Yeah, with Ubuntu. And even though Ubuntu and Linux clearly was not ready for Windows users, I just had a gut feeling that one day Linux would be, well, one day some Linux would be ready. And I was right. Had a prediction years ago and I was right. But as Linus Torvalds said, he's considered the father of Linux. The problem Linux failed on the desktop for the masses is fragmentation. Now, excluding Chromebooks, there's only one standard Linux for the Chromebook. Excluding that, for the most part, it has failed because of fragmentation. Linus is right. Yeah, Joe, some of it has to do with hardware support too. Yeah, it's definitely a marriage between the two. It doesn't bother me because I'll get it to work. I don't mind using terminal commands to fix things or make things more user-friendly as in Ubuntu. But I can't tell a newbie to install this Linux and go straight to the terminal. That's not fair. I mean, this is 2025. You shouldn't be forced to use the terminal for any Linux. And for some, maybe for a lot, you still have to. With Linux Mint, very, very few times I've had to use the terminal to do something. So I have faith in Linux Mint. I have faith in Zorin. The only problem is Zorin uses the GNOME desktop, which is on Wayland. And here we go back again to the controversy. And a newbie doesn't need that. Those are the facts. You know, that's the everyday, you know, that's reality. You know, and in spite of what some Linux channels praising Linux is the best thing since sliced bread, well, you need to be more specific. You know, it's just not reality, you know. And I know a lot of exclusive Linux users don't want to hear it. Well, you know, I'm not going to tell a lie, so it is what it is. Those are the facts. Yeah, Steve says I'm not just a Linux fanboy these days. I'm a fanboy of reality and the facts. You know, if somebody uses only Linux, of course they're going to say Linux is the best. If somebody uses only a Mac, of course they're going to say Mac is the best. It's just human nature, and I get it, but that's not the reality, you know. If a Windows user like myself says, for some of you Windows guys, Linux might be better, and I stress some Linux, sometimes might be better, I think that's more reality, right? After doing this almost 20 years. You know, but, you know, that's why, you know, there's still a billion Windows users, because a lot of Windows users are not getting the facts straight. And that's what I hope to eliminate here over the years. But, hey, we're here, so, yeah. Yeah, Joe, the issue with Windows 11, it's not the technology, but the politics, Joe. Sure. The Copilot, I don't really, the Copilot thing, which I think is a horrible name. I prefer Cortana. Of course, I'm a fan of Halo and the Master Chief. Give me the codes, Cortana. Give me the nuclear codes. No, but I have no problem against Copilot. Recall is just stupid. I'll say it for what it is. You know, the Wayland X Libre thing is stupid. I'll call that for what it is. And the recall thing for Linux or for Windows, yes, Joe, it's just stupid. It makes no sense. And the ads, even though I debloated my Windows, I don't see the ads. That doesn't make sense either. But with Windows, it's not so much the technology, but the politics. Yeah, with Windows, there aren't issues with NVIDIA drivers, or with Windows, you don't have to use the terminal. You can. But you're right. They all have issues. Yeah, it's human nature, Joe. We are imperfect creatures. Steve says on Windows 11 barely see any kind of ad. No, the ads are there, but again, I tweaked mine on these 13, 14-year-old machines with the debloated Windows. So I don't see the ads either, but if people say they're seeing ads, there are ads. Tim, how are you, Tim? Cheers, my friend. Good to have you here. Yeah, the Windows 24 H2. That's what I think that's what I installed. I don't see the ads, but again, I debloated it. I tweaked it. I can't expect a Windows newbie to know all that. But you're right about the ads. It's you know, but this is the world that we live in. But at least with Windows, you don't have to worry about display driver issues or being forced to use the terminal or fragmentation. Amen, Joe. Linux brought all of us together. Amen to that. I agree. Now, to be fair, I don't go to Linux forums or Linux, you know, or like Windows forums rather, or Windows Hangouts. I don't go there, so maybe I'm sure there are good people there. I don't do that. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just like being here. You know, but I get the frustration of Windows users' comments, and the number one thing they hate is being forced to use the terminal. Been there, done that, I get it. That's why I tell them, forget 95% of the Linux distributions out there, not for you. Try the few, you know. Anyway, you know, I think I've helped some people out, so. Best comment ever. Somebody said, God bless you. This was exactly what I was looking for. I should have highlighted that comment and put it on a plaque. That was so... Well, it made me feel good. I forget what I fixed. I can't remember. But anyway. Yes, to all the fathers tomorrow and to myself, happy Father's Day. And this year is special because my son did not blow another engine on his Lexus as he did last year. Some of you might recall a week before Father's Day last year, my son driving his Lexus with a bad water pump. Even after I told him he takes a drive to Pittsburgh, which is like a 60-mile round trip minimum, the engine overheated. And maybe my son didn't know, but even though, son, it is a Lexus, it does require water. It requires fluid. He blew the engine, toasted the car, and that was it. But this year, nothing like that. The Windows Central podcast, Steve, is that okay? Anyway, I'm going to give my dad a call tomorrow. He's in Italy. There is some slightly good news. My dad's latest film project, the director won a Best Director award at one of the festivals out in LA. That was nice. That kind of made my day. It's a great title for a film. The value of life, considering everything going on today in the States, we really need more movies like this latest project from my dad. I'm hoping he can find a distributor, get a deal on it, and have it shown. But yeah, congrats to Dad at age 88. Amazing. He has all this energy. I don't know how the hell he does it. It would burn me out. You know. The same way I don't know how Tom Cruise does all his stunts in his 60s now. He's nuts. Steve says, I figured I was listening to too many podcasts. My favorite podcast for years was the Ubuntu podcast because it was funny, it was short, it got to the point. They don't do it anymore. They retired from doing that. But that one I enjoyed as a Windows user. Timo says, the terminal is awesome. Okay. Is that after drinking wine or before drinking wine, Tim? I don't know if the terminal is awesome, but I don't have any issues using it when I have to, you know. And in some ways it's kind of fun. It gives you more control. But that's probably not, I wouldn't probably use the word awesome to a Linux newbie. Is Captain Kirk, is Bill Shatner 96 now? Is he really? Wow. Good for him. He did a movie during the pandemic with the guy, with the professor from Back to the Future. I can't think of his name. I think the movie was called Senior Moment. Filmed out west. And there was a scene where Bill's a widower. Yes, thank you, Joe. Christopher Lloyd. Great actor, too, by the way. There was a scene in the movie where Bill's at or the character, William Shatner's character, he's at a bar talking to this pretty lady. And there was a scene where they're like joking, or I guess they had just shot a scene for a commercial. And the girl, this blonde's at the bar saying, why do you chase women who are younger age? And Shatner replies, well, because they're so damn beautiful. She says, good answer, let's go to a pool party. That was so, like, human. You know what I mean? Just, I felt the love, so. Yeah, Steve, I think I said he's been hanging around with Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about science and space, which kind of makes sense. Yeah, I could see Shatner doing that. Neil deGrasse Tyson, what an amazing talent! What a mind! He really is the new has been the new Carl Sagan, explaining physics in layman terms. I think he does a great job. Tim says, drinking beer teaches you a lot about computing. Okay. Tim's using the new alcohol OS. Really? The 5th ad already on the stream, Steve? Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, well, I guess YouTube's got to pay the bills too. Hey, YouTube isn't charging me to do this, so I guess they got to do what they got to do. One of my friends bought what did he buy? He bought a new Nissan SUV, and he wasn't looking to buy it, but he got 0% financing for 5 years. I think it's a Rogue. And I sat in it. There's room for us tall guys. And it's got that electronic touch shifter thing. I'm not sure I like that part. But the car is nice. Yeah, and of course, you can't beat 0% in today's economy. Yes, Tim says, the Terminator. And we will make beer OS for the win. Ah. I'm sorry, I mean the Terminal, not the Terminator. I was watching Arnold at my friend's house, his TV show Fubar. Ah. Yes, a Phoebe distro. That's exactly it. I almost forgot I still have Lubuntu installed on my other desktop. I haven't used that in a while. But that would be a good lightweight choice for Windows users. Because they are still using, they are not on Wayland. Not yet. Maybe not till next year. Or later. But I think that's still a good lightweight choice. For simplicity. And nothing fancy. Yep, Tim says known you says no, I've known you since 2014 thanks to Linux. Yeah, it's definitely feels like a family. There's no question. It's yeah, when I started this channel, I really did not know what to expect. And yeah, it really didn't hit till years after I started it when Linux wasn't quite as known. Now, of course, it's more, I guess, famous, for lack of a better term. Steve says Ubuntu is awful. I think it's great for older machines, older hardware, simplicity. I think it works, but yeah, for something great that's on X11, I think it's fine. Yeah, I think Ubuntu requires a minimum. Is it 512 megabytes of RAM? Or 1 gig of RAM to make it run decent, where a lot of distros require minimum 4 gigs. So if you have an older machine with like 4 gigs, not too many choices for newbies out there. It's kind of limited. But at least Ubuntu, look, it wasn't designed for it to be snazzy or slick looking. It wasn't made for that. But I think it works okay. At least for me it does. Because it's fast. Tim says you guys are the best. Amen to that. I'll have a drink of water on that. I was drinking at my friend's house, Tim. That's why I'm not drinking at home. Yeah, if you go to the Distro Watch channel, I think they still have the 100 Linux distributions there on the right side of the screen. How many of those can you really say are designed for Linux newbies? 5? Maybe? Maybe less? Of course, you only need one, right? Ah, Steve is adventurous. He uses Arch-based Endeavor. The cutting-edge system that will cut you eventually. It did me. Figuratively speaking, of course. Yeah, I am never going to recommend Arch-based for a Windows Linux newbie. Never. I remember years ago when we did the Linux A team. This was with me, Spatry, and IG, Infinitely Galactic from Australia. And I remember for a long time, Spatry was stuck on Manjaro. Oh, Toss, you have to try Arch. You have to try Arch-based Manjaro. It's the best. I'm like, Spatry, what are you smoking, man? It's Arch. He's trying to convince me, And I said no. I don't think even IG was up to it. The one night we did a show, he says, Toss, you were right. I'm sick of Arch. I don't have the time to fix things. You were right. I'm never going back to that again. And I was like, man, is there a freaking echo in here? I'll never forget. I should have saved that clip. Anyway. Yeah, Tim, I need some more Carlo Rossi. The Godfather is a little thirsty. Thank you, Tim. But what was I saying? But yeah, as far as the Arch-based, yeah, when Spatry says forget about it, you forget about it. Yeah, stick with Debian or Ubuntu-based. You really can't go wrong for Linux newbies. I missed him the Linux 18, but Spatry, I don't know what happened to him, and I think IG got married. Graduated college, I think he's a teacher, and I think he got married, so life moves on. But those were the good old days. The Linux 18. Da, 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 da. Maybe I'll bring that back. Yeah, Steve says Endeavor, GNOME, the drives using the AUR, no issues. Yeah, I do remember, Steve, when I turned on, and if Cody is still watching this, listening, Cody, you know the story. When I turned on the AUR, I didn't have issues before the AUR, but once I enabled that, basically turned on the switch to that, which I called the Arch Useless Repository. Once I turned that on, that's when the problems happened. Now, to be fair, it did warn me. There was a pop-up saying, "Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Turning this on is dangerous to your system." So I replied, luckily, I had my fire extinguisher in case my computer catches fire turning on the AUR. Dispatcher came out a week later. You don't need a fire extinguisher. But anyway, that's when the issues started with me and Archbase, and that was the end of that. It's... Oh, your daughter graduated from Loyola? And works for, is it Mayman Law in Chicago? That is fantastic, Tim. Yes, I do remember during the pandemic your daughter going to school. I think she uses a Mac, if I recall. That is fantastic. Yeah, my son was in pre-law here at the local college, but with his mother getting sick with this fibromyalgia thingy, he had to drop out of college to take care of her. He did the right thing. I'm so proud of him. He has a heart, and that's hard to find nowadays. But maybe one day my son can go back to college, at least get his bachelor's. But anyway, Tim, I'm happy for your daughter. You tell her I said hello. I'm sure she remembers me. So, hello, Mark. So, Steve, you have 4 drives on your system. Okay, yeah, I use 2 drives in each desktop here. Anyway, but oh yeah, Tim, the bar is next. Yes, yes. I have an alcoholic friend of mine, Tim, who he had to drop out of law school because he couldn't pass the bar. Yeah, cool. Tell her I said hello. Her name is Carly, right? I know it's been a while. Anyway, wishing her all the best. Carly, thank you. Awesome. So, Mark, good day or good evening to you. If it's evening for you, it is evening for us here for this late night Total OS Hangout. Just catching up with friends. We're talking Linux, Wayland, AUR, and Law. And the toss law says, forget about the Wayland. No respect to X11 users. Steve says, no grub. You use refined. Is that what it is? Okay. Yeah, I just have dual SSDs on these machines, so SSDs nowadays are really cheap when you think about it. So, yeah. Yeah, Mark says, okay, well, on that, the law of Wayland dictates it's inevitable. Maybe. Maybe not. Ah, she's a case manager paralegal for the moment and has a staff under her. Very good. Yeah, I got a friend of mine who's a retired attorney. Yeah, former civil rights attorney, and I look, when I ask questions about the law and politics, I just ask him. He's been to the Supreme Court and back, and yeah, I just ask him. So anytime I need some advice, he's the one I go to. Maybe, Tim, Carly can litigate this X11 versus Wayland controversy, you know. Or not. So the other day I saw some guy and his wife walking his dog, right? And his dog takes a poop on my neighbor's lawn, lawn across the street. So I said, "Sir, you really should pick that up." So he did. He picks up his dog. I love dad jokes. Joe, you may like this joke. I got picked up by a police officer the other day, random checkpoint, and I wear contacts, right? So the officer says, "Your license says you should be wearing glasses." I said, "I have contacts," and the cop says, "I don't care who you know." But about Tim says she would do it. I bet she would. And I bet she would be good at it. I thought it was funny, Joe. Yeah. So I'm so embarrassed. I forgot my girlfriend's birthday, right? And she yells at me, "March 1st!" So I walked around the room, and then she told me. All right. Steve says, "How does a penguin build a house?" I don't know how. Well, a penguin builds a house with Linux. Yeah, they igloo it together. Da, da, bada boom. Yep. What happened when the telescope crashed with the microscope? They kaleidoscope. I'll tell my female friends at work those jokes, and they're like, "Will you stop it?" But I put a smile on their faces, you know. Ah, she helps out her brothers all the time. Nice. You gotta respect the family, Tim. Right. Joe, did you see the story that there was a police there was a highway chase or a chase? I'm just gonna call it a chase. This is not a joke. This is like a news nonsense topic I would do, but I'll tell you now. There was a police chase of a guy in an excavator. A multi-ton excavator chase where the top speeds reached as much as 3 miles an hour for an hour and a half. This is the world that we live in post-pandemic, Joe. First of all, why would somebody want to steal an excavator? And if you did, how would you escape in it? Where would you hide it? Look it up. I'm not lying. Hello, Luis has joined us. Buenas noches. Yeah, that's a good one, Joe. Yeah. Yeah. A guy driving a new Porsche, 100 miles an hour, gets pulled over. The cop says, "It's Friday. Give me a great excuse. I'll give you a pass." The guy says, "Well, my wife ran off with the cop. I thought you were trying to give her back." Yep. Yeah. I agree, Tim. Some people have lost it. Ugh. It's like that one guy tried to trade in the car to the dealership that he stole it from. I guess he's never heard of VIN numbers. Has anybody seen the latest Mission Impossible flick? The Final Reckoning. I finally saw it. Tom Cruise is nuts. At the age of 60 plus, does all his own stunts. The ending when he does that stunt on the World War I era biplane. Yeah, it's something to watch. I'll give him that. You know. I mean, Tom Cruise should really stop flying economy. It's not safe. But yeah, it's quite a stunt. Yeah. And I don't think it's truly the Final Reckoning or the final Mission Impossible movie either. I think they're working on another Top Gun, I believe. I think they're writing the story now for Top Gun 3. I saw what Denmark might be trying to get rid or wean itself off of Windows and go to Linux. Beautiful country. All right, Tim. Great to have you here. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Louis says that Waylon, that runaway towards Waylon sucks. Well, it's going to be interesting here the next few months or so. What's up with Waylon versus X11? Yeah, Joe. Take care. Take care, Steve. I guess that's the nature of open source, right? Anything goes. Use what works. That's the best operating system, right? The best one is the one that works for you. And leave it at that. Well, I think I'm going to wrap this up for myself for this evening. It's currently 11:20 here p.m. local time. Tomorrow is Father's Day, so I have plans for tomorrow. And I think I'll leave it at that. So great to having everybody here. Again, to all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day. And don't forget to spend time with your kids. Time goes too fast, my friends. And as the saying goes, stop and smell the roses. In this case, stop and spend time with your kids, no matter where they are. Very precious moments. So, have I tried virtual machines? Yes, I don't use them anymore. No need to. And really, the only way to fully appreciate a Linux-based system is in a full install. But in the past, I did do virtual machines for testing, not anymore. I don't really think virtual machines are really needed anymore, at least for what I do. But they certainly have their applications. All right, that's it for this one. Luis and everyone, thank you for stopping by. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you guys sometime in the future. Have a good one. Take care.